Imagine your dog digs up a mafia boss buried alive. What he does next will shock you. Welcome to Cinematic Mafia Love.
Sir. The rain-slicked leaves crunched under Emily Carter's boots as she trudged through the dimly lit woods behind her modest Chicago suburb home, her breath fogging in the chilly autumn night. Bruno, her massive Neapolitan Mastiff, pulled at the leash with unusual urgency, his deep growls vibrating through the quiet like a warning. Emily's heart pounded not from the cold, but from the exhaustion of another endless day juggling her waitressing job and raising her 8-year-old son, Jack, alone. "Easy, boy," she whispered, gripping the leash tighter, her mind racing with worries about the overdue bills stacking up on her kitchen table. Suddenly Bruno lunged forward, paws tearing into the soft earth near an old oak tree, dirt flying in frantic sprays. Emily yanked back, but he wouldn't stop, his barks turning desperate. "What is it, Bruno? Come on," her voice cracked with frustration, but then she heard Ita's muffled groan from beneath the ground. Her blood ran cold, heart slamming against her ribs. She dropped to her knees, flashlight from her phone shaking in her hand. The beam caught something horrific, a man's hand clawing through the mud, fingers twitching weakly. "Oh, God," she gasped, adrenaline surging as she started digging alongside Bruno, her nails breaking in the cold soil. The man's face emerged bloody, gasping, eyes wild with terror. He was alive, buried shallow in a makeshift grave. Emily's mind screamed to run, but her instincts as a mother, as someone who'd fought her through her own hell after her husband's abandonment, kicked in. She couldn't leave him to die. With Bruno's help, she pulled him free, his heavy body collapsing against her. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a torn suit that screamed money and danger. His dark hair matted with dirt, he coughed violently, sucking in air like a drowning man. "Help me," he rasped, his voice raw, Italian-American accent thick but commanding. Emily's hands trembled as she checked for wounds bruises, a gash on his head, but nothing fatal. "Who did this to you?" she whispered, her eyes locking onto his piercing blue ones, filled with a mix of gratitude and something darker, like a storm brewing. He didn't answer, just gripped her arm weakly, his touch sending an unexpected jolt through her. Sirens wailed in the distance, maybe from the city lights flickering beyond trees, but Emily knew calling the cops could drag her into whatever nightmare this was. Her son was home alone with a babysitter. She couldn't risk it. "We have to get you out of here," she said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. Bruno nudged the man protectively, as if sensing the shift in the air. Together they half-dragged, half-carried him back through the woods, his weight leaning on her shoulder, his labored breath syncing with hers. The moon cast long shadows, turning the path into a labyrinth of uncertainty. By the time they reached her small ranch-style house, Emily's arms ached, but a fierce protectiveness burned in her gut. She helped him inside, laying him on the couch under the warm glow of her living room lamp. He passed out almost immediately, his chest rising and falling unevenly. Emily paced, her mind a whirlwind. Who was he? Why bury him alive? She glanced at Jack's photo on the mantel, his innocent smile, a stark contrast to this chaos. Bruno curled up beside the stranger, watchful. As she cleaned his wounds with a first aid kit, her fingers brushed his skin, and he stirred, murmuring, "Thank you, Angel." The word hung in the air, softening the edges of her fear. But deep down, she knew this wasn't over. The night stretched on, filled with the tick of the clock and the weight of unspoken dangers. Emily sat in the armchair, shotgun from her late father's collection hidden nearby, her eyes never leaving him. Little did she know, this act of mercy was about to upend her quiet life, pulling her into a world of shadows and unexpected hearts. As dawn crept through the curtains, the man Vincent Russo, as she'd later learn, opened his eyes fully for the first time. His gaze met hers, intense and probing, like he was assessing her soul. "You shouldn't have saved me," he said softly, his voice gaining strength. Emily crossed her arms, hiding her vulnerability. Too late for that. The tension between them crackled, a silent promise of storms ahead. Bruno whined, sensing the shift, as Vincent tried to sit up, wincing. Emily helped him, their hands lingering beat too long. In that moment, amidst the fear, a spark ignited raw, unspoken, and dangerously alive. Vincent's eyes scanned the cozy living room, taking in the faded floral curtains, the stack of children's books on the coffee table, and the faint scent of vanilla from a candle Emily had lit to calm her nerves. He shifted on the couch, every muscle protesting, but his mind was sharpening like a blade. Betrayed by his own underboss, Marco, left for dead in those woods after a deal gone south. The Chicago underworld was ruthless, and Vincent had ruled it with an iron fist for years, building an empire from the streets of Little Italy to the high-rises downtown. But now, here he was, indebted to this woman whose green eyes held a quiet fire he'd never seen in his world of schemers and shadows. Emily handed him a glass of water, her fingers steady despite the tremor in her heart. "Drink this. You look like hell." He took it, their fingertips brushing again, sending that same electric current through her. She pulled back quickly, busying herself in the kitchen, where the morning light filtered through the window, casting a golden hue over the linoleum floor. Jack was still asleep upstairs, the babysitter long gone, and Emily whispered a prayer that her son wouldn't wake to this stranger. Vincent watched her move, noting the way she tucked a stray auburn curl behind her ear, the subtle strength in her posture. "Why'd you do it?" he asked, his voice low, laced with genuine curiosity. "Sir, most people would have run." She paused at the sink, staring out at the backyard where Bruno now patrolled the fence line. "Because leaving someone to die isn't who I am. I've been buried in my own way. Husband walked out, left me with a kid and a mountain of debt. You fight or you fold." Her words hung heavy, vulnerability slipping through her armor. Vincent nodded slowly, a flicker of respect in his eyes. He knew about fighting, it was his lifeblood, but this her quiet resilience stirred something deeper, a longing he'd buried under layers of power and isolation. As the hours ticked by, Vincent shared fragments of his story, his voice gravelly but measured. "My name's Vincent. I run businesses in the city. Someone close turned on me." He avoided details, but Emily pieced it together, the mafia undertones, the danger radiating from him like heat from a fire. She bandaged his head properly, her touch gentle, and he caught her wrist softly. "You're not scared?" She met his gaze, hearts pounding in unison. "Terrified, but Bruno trusts you, and he's never wrong." The dog lay at Vincent's feet, tail thumping lazily, as if sealing the bond. By afternoon, Vincent insisted on standing, testing his legs in the narrow hallway. Emily supported him, their bodies close, breaths mingling. A knock at the door shattered the moment her neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, dropping off mail. Emily's pulse raced as she answered, forcing a smile while Vincent hid in the shadows of the pantry, his hand on her hidden knife from his pocket. The exchange was brief, but the paranoia lingered. Back in the living room, Vincent's expression darkened. "I can't stay long. They'll come looking." Emily felt a pang of fear mixed with an inexplicable pull toward him. "Then rest while you can. Jack's at school soon, we'll figure it out." As evening fell, the house filled with the aroma of spaghetti sauce simmering on the stove. Emily's comfort food. Jack bounded in from the bus, freezing at the sight of Vincent. "Who's he, Mom?" The boy's wide eyes mirrored her own caution. Vincent knelt despite the pain, offering a warm smile. "I'm a friend who got lost in the woods. Your dog's a hero." Jack grinned, petting Bruno, and the tension eased like a sigh. They ate together at the scarred wooden table, Vincent sharing light stories of Chicago's bustling streets, making Jack laugh with tales of deep dish pizza wars. Emily watched, her heart swelling at the normalcy, but under the table, Vincent's knee brushed hers, igniting a warmth that spread like wildfire. Night deepened, and as Jack slept, Vincent and Emily sat on the porch, stars peeking through the city haze. "You've got a good life here," he said, his voice soft. "Don't let me ruin it." She turned to him, eyes searching his. "Maybe you needed saving as much as I did." Their hands intertwined subtly, fingers lacing in the cool air, a silent vow forming amidst the growing storm. But in the distance, headlights flashed on the road too close to her. Watchful. Vincent tensed, pulling her inside, the emotional walls cracking as protectiveness surged through him. Little did they know, the insanity was just beginning. The next morning dawned gray over the Chicago suburbs, the kind of overcast sky that mirrored the unease settling in Emily's chest. Vincent paced the living room like a caged lion, his phone retrieved from his muddied pocket buzzing with encrypted messages he ignored. Emily watched from the kitchen doorway, coffee mug warming her hands as Jack scarfed down cereal before school. "Be good today, buddy," she said, ruffling his hair, her smile strained. Jack eyed Vincent curiously. "Will you still be here when I get back?" Vincent paused, crouching to the boy's level. "If your mom says it's okay, deal?" They shook hands, and Emily's heart twisted seeing Vincent's gentleness with her son unlocked a vulnerability she hadn't expected. After Jack left on the bus, the house felt smaller, charged with unspoken words. Vincent turned to her, his blue eyes intense under the fluorescent light. "I need to make a call. Get out of your hair." But as he dialed a trusted contact, Emily overheard snippets. "Marcos, move. Find him before he finds me." Her stomach knotted. She approached, placing a hand on his arm. "You're not healed yet. Stay one more day." He looked down at her touch, something softening in his gaze. "You're too kind for this mess." Their proximity built like static, breaths shallow, until he pulled away, jaw set. They spent the day in tentative rhythm, Emily running errands while Vincent rested, Bruno ever vigilant by his side. When she returned with groceries, arms laden with bags, he helped unload, their movements syncing effortlessly. In the kitchen, as she chopped vegetables, he stood behind her, close enough to feel his warmth. "You handle all this alone?" he asked, voice low. She nodded, knife pausing. "Have to. Jack's my world." Vincent's hand covered hers on the counter, a gesture of solidarity that sent shivers up her spine. "He's lucky. You're stronger than anyone I've known." The air thickened, eyes locking in a moment of raw connection, hearts racing toward an inevitable pull, but peace shattered when Vincent's phone rang, a burner from his associate. "They're circling the area. Rumors you're alive." His face paled and Emily's fear ignited. "Who?" she whispered. He hesitated, then confessed more. His empire in construction rackets, the betrayal over a territory dispute. "I built it from nothing, but it's poison." Tears welled in her eyes, not for him, but for the life she'd glimpsed, now threatened. He cupped her face gently, thumb brushing her cheek. "I won't let them near you." The promise hung, electric, as their lips nearly met, halted by Bruno's bark at the window. Outside, a suspicious car idled down the street, engine humming like a threat. Vincent drew the curtains, his body shielding hers instinctively. "Pack a bag for you and Jack. We leave tonight." Emily's, sir. Mind reeled, but trust bloomed amidst the chaos. As dusk fell, they prepared quietly, Vincent teaching Jack a simple card game to distract him, laughter echoing despite the tension. Emily packed essentials, her hands shaking, but Vincent's steady presence anchored her. "Why help us?" she asked later, in the dim hallway. He met her eyes, vulnerability cracking his facade. "Because you saw me, not the boss, the man, and I see you." They slipped out under cover of night, Bruno in tow, driving Emily's old SUV toward a safe house Vincent knew in the outskirts. The city lights blurred past, tension coiling tighter. At a red light, Vincent glanced at her, hand finding hers on the gear shift. "This is crazy," she murmured. He squeezed gently. "Crazy's what got me here with you." The words wrapped around her heart, deepening the bond as dangers loomed closer. But in that car, amidst the uncertainty, love's first whispers emerged, fragile yet fierce, promising more storms ahead. The safe house was a nondescript cabin tucked in the Illinois woods, far from Chicago's neon pulse, where the trees whispered secrets in the wind. Vincent unlocked the door with a hidden key, ushering Emily, Jack, and Bruno inside as midnight cloaked the world. The interior was sparse wooden floors creaking underfoot, a stone fireplace casting flickering shadows from the fire he quickly lit. Emily settled Jack on the couch with blankets, his eyelids heavy from the drive. "Is this an adventure, Mom?" he yawned. She, sir, kissed his forehead, forcing calm. "The best kind." But her eyes met Vincent's across the room, worry etched in the lines of his face. As Jack slept, they sat by the fire, the crackle filling the silence. Vincent poked the logs, sparks dancing like his turbulent thoughts. "My world's catching up. Marco won't stop." Emily reached for his hand, intertwining fingers, the warmth grounding them. "Then fight smart. For us." He looked at her, the firelight softening his rugged features, revealing the man beneath the mafia veneer, a son of immigrants who'd clawed his way up, only to question it all now. "You've changed everything," he admitted, voice husky. She leaned in, their foreheads touching, breaths mingling in a moment of profound intimacy. "So have you." Dawn brought urgency. Vincent's contact arrived, a loyal friend named Tony, bearing news and supplies. "Marco's spreading word you're gone for good, but he's sniffing around suburbs." Tony eyed Emily curiously, but Vincent's protective stance silenced questions. After Tony left, Vincent mapped a plan on the kitchen table, his strategic mind shining. Emily contributed, her intelligence surprising him ideas on blending in, using her knowledge of quiet roots from her waitressing days. "We're a team," she said, and he nodded, pride swelling in his chest. Tension mounted as the day wore on. Bruno growled at Russell's outside, putting them on edge. Vincent taught Emily self-defense basics in the yard, their bodies close, movements, fluid. Laughter broke through when she tripped him playfully, landing atop him in the leaves, their eyes locked, laughter fading to desire. "Emily," he whispered, hand cupping her neck. The kiss was inevitable, soft at first, then deepening with pent-up emotion, hearts pounding in sync. It was a declaration, born of fear and hope, sealing their fates. But paradise cracked when Vincent's phone buzzed a warning text. Marco's men were closing in, tipped off somehow. Panic surged. Emily woke Jack gently, bundling him as Vincent scouted the perimeter. "We run now," he said, voice steady but eyes betraying fear, not for himself, but for them. In the SUV, engines roared to life, headlights cutting through the dark. Pursuit lights appeared in the rear view, distant but relentless. Vincent swerved onto back roads, hand gripping Emily's knee. "Hold on!" Jack clung to Bruno in the back, wide-eyed but brave, mirroring his mother's resolve. They evaded temporarily, pulling into a motel lot under false names. In the cramped room, emotions boiled. "I can't keep dragging you into this," Vincent said, pacing. Emily stood firm, pulling him close. "We're in it together. You saved me too from loneliness." Tears glistened as he held her, vulnerability raw. The night deepened their bond, whispers of futures shared, but dawn loomed with decisions. Vincent stared at the ceiling, an insane idea forming one that could shatter his world for hers. The motel room felt like a pressure cooker as morning. Light seeped through the blinds, casting striped shadows on the worn carpet. Vincent sat at the edge of the bed, phone in hand, his decision crystallizing after a sleepless night. Emily stirred beside him, her hand finding his back, sensing the shift. "What is it?" she asked softly. Jack still asleep on the pull-out with Bruno guarding him. Vincent turned, his eyes holding a storm of resolve and love. "I know what to do. It's insane, but it's the only way to end this for good," he explained in hushed tones, turning himself in, not as a victim but as a witness, dismantling his empire from the inside, cooperating with the feds to take down Marco and the network. "I've got dirt on everyone. They'll protect us, new identities, a fresh start." Emily's breath caught, fear and hope warring in her chest. "You'd give it all up? Your power? Your life?" He pulled her close, lips brushing her temple. "For you? For Jack? In a heartbeat, you're my real power now." The words hung, emotional weight pressing them together in a fierce embrace, tears mixing as the insanity of his sacrifice sank in. They moved quickly. Vincent made the call to a trusted FBI contact he'd kept as insurance. Hours later, in a neutral diner parking lot, agents swarmed discreetly, whisking them into protection. Marco's men arrived too late, the trap sprung. In the safe transport van, Vincent held Emily's hand, Jack chattering excitedly about spy adventures with Bruno's head in his lap. The emotional release was, palpable fear giving way to tentative joy, bonds unbreakable. Months blurred in witness protection prep, but their love flourished in hidden moments, stolen kisses in temporary homes, family dinners where Vincent read bedtime stories to Jack, his once hardened heart softening fully. Emily's strength anchored him through testimonies, her whispers of encouragement his lifeline. Finally, in a quiet ceremony under new names, now the Harrisons in a sun-dappled park in a small Oregon town, they vowed forever. Vincent's "I do" carried the weight of his insane choice, eyes locked on Emily's, filled with unwavering devotion. Years later, in their cozy home overlooking the Pacific, Vincent, now a carpenter, hands calloused from honest work, watched Emily and Jack play with Bruno's successor in the yard. The past was a shadow, but their love illuminated everything. He'd traded empires for this, and it was worth every risk. If this story of redemption and unbreakable love touched your heart, hit that like button, drop a comment with your favorite emotional moment, and subscribe to Cinematic Mafia Love for more tales that pull at your soul. Your support means the world. Let's keep the stories coming.